Right. Let's go back into the Zoom room here and bring on our very own Nestor Lecanto from the KUAM news team. Good morning, Nestor.
Hi, Ness.
Good morning. Hi, Bree. Hi, Chris. How you guys doing? Hi, Jace.
Mabuhay.
Mabuhay.
Nestor's joining us live from the Philippines, guys. Nestor, I want to ask about the PI, man, because so what's the situation? I know, and we're here to talk about solid waste.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bree. But
no, I want to know too.
What is the situation with COVID and the PI? Are they under a lockdown, or what are the restrictions? What's open? What's not?
Yeah, the restrictions are pretty much still in place, particularly in the Metro Manila area, where the highest percentage of cases are. They're still waiting on vaccines. I believe today they might be getting the first AstraZeneca vaccines, less than 500,000 though. So you can imagine, for a country of 100 million, that's a drop in the bucket. So I think that's what's kind of slowing down the recovery, if you will, or the reopening of the country, is the lack of vaccines. And that's a problem that most less developed countries face across the world. Of course, money gets you the vaccines. And so the richer countries are the ones that are first in line scooping up the vaccine. So I think that's the main issue here in the Philippines, the lack of the ability to roll out vaccines quickly. Unlike us on Guam, I mean, the vaccines are, we're way ahead, I think, of most places. And that's a good thing for Guam. But here in the Philippines, that's one of the things that's holding it up.
So what's the deal if you're traveling into the Philippines? Are people just able to go and have fun, or is there quarantine?
No. Yeah, those are it's very restricted still, particularly from countries that still have high positivity rates. And so, yeah, it's still very difficult to get into the country for non-Filipino nationals.
Okay. I was asking for my friends. They were like, hey, when's PI open? Yeah. People are getting itchy feet around here, Ness.
I'll bring you guys some snacks when I get back.
All right. Nice. God. Boy, that's a blast from the past. Remember, people used to bring the Goldilocks. Like, everybody was someone was always going to the PI.
No, or the Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
No, or those chips. Gosh, what were those?
The banana chips?
Banana chips.
No. It was a different kind of chips. Was it?
Yeah.
The chicharon?
The chicharon, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I like the peanut brittle. It's 3 for 100 at Green Hills. Is Green Hills open?
As you can tell, I put on. Green Hills is open, yeah.
What the hell?
I mean, much of the country, if you're just just in casual anecdotal observation, it seems like it's pretty much open.
I see.
I mean, the malls are still prohibiting children under 12, I think, or under 15 from going in, and kids can't go to most public places yet. So that's very difficult for them. But otherwise, it seems like it's all pretty much open for the local citizenry. The malls are pretty much full, maybe not as full as they used to be. Restaurants, but it's all the same. You have to social distancing, the mask wearing. In fact, here it's in addition to masks, you have to wear face shields in public places too.
Okay,
So,
and that's Jason here. I just wanted to just let people know, let the cat out of the bag just like a little bit. But guys, I'm Nestor's producer for his new show, which is in episode 2 now, Beyond Our Borders. And Nestor, you did a fantastic interview with the market development manager for IKEA that's coming up. So the Philippines is going to be home to the world's largest IKEA. I mean, I majored in business at UOG, and it wasn't just like a 30-minute, like commercial, oh, try IKEA, we're really, really good. I mean, he really dove deep into the philosophies of the company, what it takes to open a store of that magnitude, and what's in, what literally is in store for their whole concept of, what they call it, democratized design.
Yeah, they IKEA places a very high importance on social responsibility, and so the markets that they go into, they try to recruit local artisans to help make their products locally. So they have a separate kind of, area for locally produced markets, locally produced art or, crafts too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was really interesting. I didn't realize a lot of the things that go behind IKEA. It's known for people who are familiar with it. It's known for its very simplistic but affordable, but really nice looking furniture from Sweden, of all places, right? And it's the largest furniture retail chain in the world, and it was founded in Sweden, and and you can tell what that particular product or piece of furniture is an IKEA product. It has a unique look to it, and they're always constantly evolving, to improve on their look. He was telling us, and they are building the biggest IKEA store in the world here in the Philippines.
Yeah, the pictures are staggering that we've got, like in episode 2, which comes out on the 15th, by the way.
And they do all this while being woke too, right?
By being, yeah, it's the location is. Folks might be familiar with the Mall of Asia. It's in a city called Pasay, and it's a standalone store. I'm not sure how many stories it is, but it's pretty big.
I think 7 floors.
Mall of Asia, is that the
yeah?
Sir, is that the yellow one? That's by the water, right? The fish place.
Yeah,
gotcha. Right on.
Yeah, and Nestor, you actually opened my eyes to something too, because you were saying, like, right after we finished the interview, that apparently IKEA also has like a world-class cafeteria for customers when they walk in.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
They're known for their food too. There's always a little. So I used to live in Singapore, and that was a pretty big store too. But the way it works is like there's actually kind of like a path that they guide you through to go through the store, so you can see as much as they want you to see, right? And then at the end of it is the restaurant delicatessen or what, and you have to have Swedish meatballs before you leave that store.
Oh man, I would love some Swedish meatballs right now.
Or you're missing out on the full experience.
Yeah. Yeah, so that comes out on March the 15th, guys. That's Beyond Our Borders, and we have a very, very enlightening interview with the market development manager, Mr. George Platzer from IKEA. So Nestor's going to have that for you, and that's on March 15th on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, and on KUM TV.
Thank you, guys. We're going to bust in here on the radio side. We're KUAM FM, 93.9 The Breeze, Hagåtña. On the TV side, KUAM TV, thanks so much for jamming with us this morning. There's a lot of great programming coming up on KUAM TV. Always. And jump on our Facebook live feed. We also have a audio stream, Docomo Channel 10, for Sabrina Salas, Matt Tanani, Jason Salas, and Joe, sir. My name is Chris, KUAM TV, hasta adios. We're back. We kind of got sidetracked there, Nestor, with talking about Green Hills and Goldilocks and IKEA.
Swedish meatballs and Krispy Kreme.
My mom's late sister had a good Swedish meatball recipe. I don't know. She did. She was not even Swedish.
I know there's a pent-up demand to come to Manila, so hopefully the country will open up pretty soon. Like I said earlier, they are starting to bring in the vaccines, and so there's a little bit of a controversy. President Duterte was looking at Sinovac. That's a vaccine from China.
Oh yeah.
There's a little pushback from some parts of the country on that. And so now I think the AstraZeneca, the first shipment of AstraZeneca is coming in.
I didn't even know there was an AstraZeneca vaccine.
Yeah.
Ness, so we actually brought you on to kind of talk about this interview you did with Larry Gast, the Guam Solid Waste Authority. And it was a great interview. I know it was a long one, and he kind of just gave like the status of what it was like recyclables and just generally the waste on Guam, right?
Yeah. So full disclaimer, I am not a subject matter expert on recyclables. You can probably talk to Peggy Denny or Bob Perrin over at Guam Waste Control. They can tell you much more than I could. Yeah. But I did interview Larry Gast, the semi-retired general manager of the Guam Solid Waste Authority. Larry is living in Florida right now, for those who may not know. He had attempted to retire from GSWA, but they asked him to hang on and maybe kind of help manage the operation remotely from Florida while they find a permanent general manager. But I understand Pedro Leon Guerrero is also the deputy or manager or assistant general manager, and he's in charge of the day-to-day operations. But I did speak to Larry. It was a long but very informative interview, and he gave us his perspective as a landfill operator on the situation with respect to solid waste on Guam. And he said it's to put it simply, the trash is piling up, the recycle, and there's a couple of reasons for it. Number one is China, and that's not just a Guam problem, it's a global problem, because China used to be by far, or still is probably, but by far the biggest importer of recycled products. And I think it was a couple of years ago, the Chinese government decided, we're not going to do that anymore for a variety of different reasons. They kind of stopped much of their imports of recyclables. And even the secondary markets like Malaysia and Vietnam have also cut back on their import of recyclables. So that's one issue. The second one is just scale. Guam lacks the scale. We don't have enough recyclables to make it as profitable for companies that are in that business. And a lot of that has to do because of tourism. We used to get 1.5 million folks who add to our recyclable pile, and we don't have those anymore. So what was already considered a small amount in terms of the global industry of recyclables became even smaller, much smaller, because of the lack of tourists arriving. So that's the second main reason. China stopped accepting them, and the amount of our recyclables has gone down. Although because we haven't been able to export it, it is piling up. Yeah. And so the question is, and Larry said this too, we're kind of in between a rock and a hard place. So how do we deal with it? And of course, from his perspective as the landfill operator lives on, he doesn't want to see that taking up valuable space in his landfill. And so what do we do? He suggested one option would be incineration, specifically waste to energy. And he said, when he brings up that subject, he kind of gets a slap in the wrist. Yeah. Nobody really wants to talk about it. Yeah. And that's a whole other issue for Guam, of course. That goes back to the days of the late Senator Ben Pangilinan, who was not happy. Right. The legislature at that time was not happy with the contract that we actually have in place, which is still, even after all these years, right, in litigation. And if you bring Dave Sablon on, he can probably give you a whole earful of the background of that right. issue. Yeah. So that, in a nutshell, is what we discuss, and of course we'll have that report for you guys later today.
Appreciate that. Going back to the incinerator. So I mean, this is like 20 years back or more.
At least, yeah.
Right. This is the issue, man. In the late 90s, I remember I was on the talk show over here across the hall at Isla, and this was like hot. But at the time, I'm wondering if the technology and just people's idea of incineration, and also the contract. I think the contract was like the biggest issue, because many people felt that it was going to give people diabetes. It was such a sweetheart deal, right? But so, do you think that the technology with waste to energy has evolved over the last couple decades? And do you think if we just were able to wiggle out of that contract and look at it maybe objectively, that it could be some type of feasible option? I'm not coming down one side or the other. I'm just wondering, because I remember that politics did taint so much of the conversation about an incinerator back then, and of course even now.
Yeah, I'm sure incineration, like most other industries, kind of evolve over the years and get better with the technology that we have. So I'm sure there are, much more advanced techniques for that. But one of the things Larry emphasized is that it should be a waste to energy facility, and so that the byproduct of it can also be used productively. He said not just incineration, but it should be a waste to energy. And there's still the law in place. Incineration, I think waste to, I forget specifically what it is, but it's illegal.
Yeah.
For a waste to energy operation. So that law has to be reversed if we want to do that.
But I remember back then there was also talk about we would have to like possibly, because we weren't producing enough waste back then, and there was a certain quota with it, that we would possibly be looking at having to ship in waste from other jurisdictions.
And I think that was one of the issues that the late Speaker Pangilinan brought up, is that, the contract is for a certain amount of trash to be brought in,
right.
And they'd still get paid for that, whether we generate that amount or not. So
right, yeah.
That was one of the provisions that he was objecting to.
I remember it was hot,
correctly.
man. It was so hot at the time of the late '90s, early 2000s. This whole conversation on incineration, it was like one of the hottest issues. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's clearly not an easy issue to resolve. We still have all of these recyclables, and of course recyclables. The proponents of recyclables, the folks like Peggy, are rightfully saying, hey, we should be recycling it because we want to protect the environment, right? And then from Larry's perspective, he says, yeah, but I've got so much land in my landfill, and recyclables, if we can reduce them, substantially through incineration, for example, that would be helpful to me as the landfill operator. And then the whole idea of being able to ship it off island is apparently no longer that viable, because when we can't find people to buy the recyclables, so that's piling up here. So yeah, we've got a situation.
I like the way you put things, Nestor. Understated. We got a situation, guys. So we're getting Peggy on tomorrow to talk about this. Yeah, I mean, this really throws a kink in kind of like their whole operation. And I think maybe what could be done is we start looking at ways to use these recyclables that we can't ship off island on island, like finding new uses for. I mean, you see things in the PI, they make chairs and furniture out of tires. Maybe we just need to start getting creative with our waste if, being able to send it off island is no longer an option. But, to me, it's really sadness because the community mindset has really evolved so much in the last 10 years on just recycling. Like, people are all in on the environment and the recycling. And it's just sad to me that now that everybody's on the same page, you go to Payless Anywhere, they've got 5 different trash cans for 5 different types of waste streams. But then to find out at the end of the day that we're sitting on piles of this stuff because we can't make money off it. It's a situation, like you said.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we've spent all of these years trying to inform and educate the public that it's a good thing that if you separate your trash into different recyclables, that, it's good for the environment, it's good for the community. And now we've gotten so good at it that it's piling up because we can't find a way to get rid of it. So it's like a circular problem, right? Yeah. And then one of the things Larry Gas mentioned to me that I didn't know is that there's the different types of recyclables that are more acceptable than others. There's categories like 1s and 2s they'll take, 3s and 4s they don't want. 4s, 5s and 6s. So even within the recyclable, industry, there's certain more preferable recyclables than others. Yeah. So that's another issue too.
Yeah. That's when you flip over your trash, you'll see there's numbers on it with the recycle sign. That all means different stuff. Ness, it's always good to have you on. Thanks for your update on the PI travel situation and IKEA's Swedish meatballs, but most importantly about the solid waste situation on Guam. Be safe, my friend.
All right, you guys too. Take care. See you guys soon.
See you. Yeah. Yeah, there's many things that, and just in covering environment for the news, I mean, way back and even more recently, there's all kinds of ways that people reuse recyclables, whether it's, chipping and making it into tiles. I've seen people make like foam out of these types of things. So yeah, this is definitely a challenge, right? Yeah, and Joster's over here, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, because PI, man, they really, I mean, they reuse everything, right? I mean, they've got it so down in the Philippines that they will cut a napkin into 4 pieces just to stretch the life of that napkin. If you ever ate out of the PI and you're used to like napkins on Guam, I mean, that's part of the problem though, is that you get napkins on Guam, bro, they give you like 10 napkins. And what do? You use one, they throw 9 away. Or in PI, they're like tearing the toilet paper in half sideways just to make it stretch, you know. And part of that is the economics, right? The people, it's not just that they're, you know, woke recyclers with a black belt in recycling. No, it's also that there's an economic issue where they have no choice but to stretch out a roll of toilet paper or a pack of napkins or, you know, anything like that. Anyway, it's 8:14. From the PI, Bree, we're making some miles this morning. From the PI.